I'm very excited to tell you about this video, which is to give you 5-star reviews for your business, and lots of them. This is a video which will give you systems and processes that you can implement from the beginning to the end. I use them myself and they work. Now, the first thing is that people often have an existing business and they go, I want lots of 5-star reviews. And you've got to back it up a bit. You've got to look at your whole business to make sure that from the beginning moment that the customer contacts you, right to the end, when you ask for a review, that you've done everything that means you have the connection, the feeling, the goodwill that they want to give you a 5-star review. Now, the first thing might be a bit surprising, but we're going to start right at the beginning of the customer journey. And the first one is that you'll tend to find that 20% of your customers are amazing, they're lovely, they're fantastic people. 60% are okay, and 20% are awful. In fact, the reality is they're probably more hassle than it's worth. The complaints, the lies, the aggravation that they'll use up in your energy makes them more hassle than they're worth. But from a review point of view, 5 to 10% of people, you can't really make them happy, and you're not going to get a positive review out of them. And you need to get your business to a point you can do this, but the first thing is actually not to accept those customers. And to do that, you have to be able to identify them at the beginning. Now, a good salesperson is often successful because they can spot the customers who are going to buy. So they spend their time on those and not the time wasters. But in this case, we're doing it to get rid of the people that are very, very likely to give you a bad review. So how can you spot them? Well, you know the market very well. You know your industry. And you know what's a good price and what's reasonable. And if the things you're saying to them, they want it more, and they're kind of quite pushy and insistent, they want it done more quickly. You know, it's a painting job. You can only paint a room so quickly. You have to wait for the paint to dry. There's a certain price in the market and they want it lower. And all the little things that they're just not happy with what's reasonable. Then it's best not to start with these customers. And you need to get your business to a point where your marketing and advertising gets enough leads that you are able to reject them, and you give them the nicest excuse you can. Now, you may think this isn't important, but the reality is if you have 10 5-star reviews and you get 1-star, that's going to push you from 5 to 4.5, 4.6, something like that. So no matter how many positive reviews you have, those negatives will pull it down to some degree. And also you need to make sure you get 5-star reviews because somebody somewhere isn't going to be happy. Things are going to happen. And the best way to dilute the problems from those bad reviews is to have lots of good ones. So you're getting lots of good ones just to dilute the problems from the bad ones. So they're not so noticeable. They kind of get shrunk down. So we've gone from the beginning bit to the next bit. And the next bit is it's very easy from a marketing point of view to promise and promise and promise and actually overpromise. And you want to underpromise and overdeliver. Now this may seem ridiculous, but you're going to make your money on the long-term customers, the customers who are with you for a long time, the ones that create your reputation and your online reviews. And the best way to be a miracle worker is to do things more quickly than you said you would. So you want to really do things to create that goodwill. So it isn't just also how you physically do the job, it's how you treat the customer with love and respect and build that relationship, that they really like you. And when you get the job and you're doing the job, you express how thankful you are, how much you appreciate it. So when you also ask for a 5-star review later on, that they are willing to do that because they feel important. And when they've done their 5-star review, they feel they can tell their friends about the good thing they did, helping this person with their business and so on, and that you really, really value it. But we'll get to that bit later. A very clever trick, which is very powerful and really works for getting a 5-star review, is if you're doing your job and you see something that would be an advantage to the customer, but it's kind of similar to what you're already doing, so it won't take that long. For example, you're doing a paint job on a room and you notice in their corridor and some other rooms, they're using the same colour and there's some scuff marks because they had it done 2 or 3 years ago and there's some scuff marks. Say to them, or even message them because some customers aren't around. Would you like them to do? Would they like you to do the bits on the wall, just to sort of put some paint up there to get rid of those marks? And you're very happy to do it for free if they're happy to give you a 5-star review. And if you've got the right kind of customer, that works incredibly well because it creates goodwill, it takes them no time, and they're also now obligated to do it. You are doing work for them on that obligation. And also, it's not kind of dodgy and nasty. It's not the kind of thing where it's like you're paying them for a review or something. And yes, you could have charged them for that, upsold them and all the rest of it. But if you've picked the right thing, it kind of only takes you 10 minutes or 2 times 10 minutes if it's 2 coats, no time at all. And those reviews are really valuable. It's important to wait until you've finished the job and been paid before you ask for a review. The reason for this is some customers are lovely. And then when it comes to the time that they've paid you, they don't feel so happy anymore. They can feel and see it's cost them money and they kind of change. So the important thing is to wait until you've done it. And if they seem happy, then ask for a 5-star review. And express how much you appreciate it, how important it'll be and all the rest of it. And you may find that they say they'll do it and they don't. So what you then do is you give them a good amount of time, maybe a month, and you message them saying, hi, it means I know you're busy and all the rest of it, but it would mean so much if you did a 5-star review and really show how much you appreciate it. And maybe they say they'll do it. And if they don't, then try another month later. Now you may be thinking, why am I waiting so long? Well, the reason is that by giving them the time, they're not pushed. But also for another reason, which is that it's good if they do the review when you're not physically present, because the review systems often go, okay, this person's standing next to this person. They can tell, and we'll go into the fake review stuff later. And they use that to block the reviews. It's very, very, very important not to do fake reviews, and it's incredibly tempting. The review systems have a huge amount of data, and they know, and I'm sure you've spoken to people who go, oh, I'm just going to do fake reviews. Well, the systems know. They know locations, they know behavior, they know who someone's friends are, who they're connected with, the contacts, especially if it's going through a phone, it's all logged and monitored. They've got all the details and everything. And even little things like if you say to somebody, I'll review your business if you review mine, they can pick that up. So it's actually, I find, works better to make sure reviews aren't blocked if the person does a review when you're not present at a different time, so there isn't the location thing. Also, it's an advantage if it's done at a different time as a result of that. Also, if the person writes text that's kind of personal, bit quirky, he did a great job here, but could have been a bit quicker or something, and just a bit of text that makes it personal. Because the review systems ultimately have so many people faking it. Their filters are up very high watching this. And what sometimes happens is someone thinks they've been very clever doing fake reviews. And then after a while, it's like a wall that comes down. Suddenly, they have a hard time getting reviews on. Some of them even disappear. And you've got to be really, really careful for that. So keep it real, keep it honest, have a good business where you're doing it honestly and truly. And that's why we're going right from the beginning of the process of the customer, right to the end. Sometimes a customer will even say to you, if you don't do X, they're going to do a nasty review. It can get as bad as they say, if you don't do the job for free, they'll give you a nasty review. I mean, it can get quite unpleasant. And the problem is, you are in a position of weakness. Reviews are really important. So I find it's important not to give customers too much credit from a financial point of view. So I do things in small stages and they pay once the stage is complete. So I'm not that out of pocket, so they can't blackmail me too much. I mean, this hardly ever happens, and really hardly ever happens, but it can happen. And the other important thing is to negotiate if needed. So if a customer does that, go, well, people still have to be paid. How about if you just pay for their salaries, but not the profit margin of the company. People often feel that the workers need to be paid, but the profit margin of the company, that's just nasty, horrible profit. So that's one way to go. So you can negotiate it through. But ultimately, you are in a position of weakness. And even if they're just speaking to you on the phone, you want to make it feel like you're hurt, because sometimes people just want revenge and nastiness. So if they feel they've hurt you, then actually they just walk off. If they feel they've won and all the rest of it, it's very easy to want revenge, especially with nasty customers who just don't deserve it. But you often find for many online products and things that they just refund people even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes it has to be done. But ultimately, you just kind of want to do it that you don't start fights online. And sometimes you do lose. And actually, in the same way that a retail business kind of knows that it'll have 3 or 4% shoplifting, you kind of know that to keep positive reviews, sometimes you'll lose a tiny percentage of turnover from giving people things that they shouldn't have. And actually, in the long term, it doesn't matter so much, because you're dependent on long-term customers that you'll have for 10, 20, 30 years. That's who you make your money on. And one person who's come and gone and you'll never ever serve again is, in the long run, the lifetime value of the customer, less of a big deal. So what success rate am I getting with my business for getting lots of 5-star reviews? Well, 50% of people that my business is doing work for are giving 5-star reviews. Now, the thing for me is, with my business, which mainly is painting and decorating, we're in a customer's house for an average of 5 days. So we build up a really good relationship, rapport, and they hopefully really like us at the end. And that makes it easier. If you've got a kind of business, let's say like a plumbing thing where you're kind of in there for half an hour, then maybe you won't get the same relationship. And also I tend to find that younger people who are like in their 20s and 30s give a higher percentage. And if somebody is much older, where they maybe even have a problem and it takes quite slow for them to do reviews, and also the biggest is they don't feel comfortable about being online. Young people are very open about being online, and older people are a lot more cagey about it. So those issues also affect the percentage. I also have loads of more techniques. If you're a consulting client or you're interested in becoming one, then I've got loads of other techniques on getting 5-star reviews. I may at one point do an info product with information in as well, but I don't know where that's going. We'll see what happens. I'm so thankful you joined me today. I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you soon. I hope it's been useful. You may have loads of other techniques I'd really love to hear. I'm doing this to learn. You may also find that at a future video, I've got other ideas, and I've said that previous ideas actually weren't as good as I thought because I found something better. But I'm really, really thankful to see you, and I hope to see you soon.